on, everyone? We are back with a brand new video, and per our usual disclaimer, I'm in the four-wheel studio, aka my car. So if there's any audio variances than the normal quality, please attribute it to that. That being said, let's jump right into today's video. And this was something that I thought about the other day as I have watched Team USA matriculate, albeit rather awkwardly, clumsily at times, through the Olympic tournament. And that is, has this tournament exposed Steve Kerr as a coach? And what do I mean by that? And for those of you who don't know, there was a big hubbub made a couple games ago when Jason Tatum was a DNP CD. Who was it against? Was it Germany? Might have been Germany. I don't have it in front of me. And Tyrese Halliburton has also been glued to the bench. And so it caused a lot of people to be like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are these guys not playing? What's going on here? And really, Steve Kerr didn't do himself any favors with what he said after the game, where he said he felt like an idiot for not starting him, or playing him, much less not starting him, but playing him, period. Not playing him, period, I should say. And then I believe he started the next game, which almost seemed like insulting, like he was, what's the word I'm looking, not placating, but in a sense, that's kind of what he was to the pressure, and not because he thought that he was a player that gave them the best chance to win. But even if you feel that way, I'd almost rather you say that. But it's interesting to me that for all the time that I have been watching international and Olympic basketball, you know, whether it be Coach K coaching or even the late great Chuck Daly, Pop, it was rare that you didn't see this in terms of whether you saw a player of his stature, and I'm in Jason Tatum, I'm talking about an multiple time first team All NBA guy, which means ostensibly he's been or perceived one of the 5 best players in the National Basketball Association. And you mean to tell me that you can't find any tick for a guy like that? A world champion, perennial all-star, multiple-time All-NBA guy, and that's what you're trying to sell us? You're trying to sell us that Tyrese Halliburton, an ascending all-star, that's helping the Indiana Pacers build themselves back into a contender and has been in the playoffs, went in the Eastern Conference Finals? Correct me if I'm wrong. But you can't find any time for these guys. And so the question is starting to become, at least in my mind, and I have to ask, has this exposed him as a coach? Because we know, due to what he's done in Golden State, you know, he's a multiple-time champion, might have even won Coach of the Year. You know, all of the Warriors dynasty, he's been at the helm with all of that. And so he's earned the reputation of one of the best coaches in the National Basketball Association. And while I'm not saying that he's a terrible coach, I will say this, you know, and this is a perception that in some ways he is the John Gruden, to the Tony Dungy of this situation. And what do I mean by that is, Tony Dungy was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for several seasons as they came up from being the absolute dregs of the NFL, helped build that defense into a juggernaut. And right when it seemed like they were on the cusp, and when I say the Bucs fired him, they bring in John Gruden. They win the Super Bowl the very next year, largely with Dungy's team, but Gruden got all of the glory. And of course, we know Tony Dungy won the Super Bowl in Indianapolis, but that seems to be the perception in some circles about Steve Kerr, you know, that he's just winning with Mark Jackson's players, because Mark Jackson is really the architect that helped build that team, that really, and it seemed crazy back then. He said it way back then that Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson were the best shooting backcourt ever. And when he said it, people was like, what are you smoking? And well, his words turned out to be prophetic, because that's essentially what they have become, or what they were. And so a lot of people feel like Steve Kerr is merely riding the coattails of what Mark Jackson built. And meanwhile, Mark Jackson can't even sniff a coaching job in the NBA. You have to wonder if, because a lot of you may not remember, but before he took that Warriors job, he was within a hair of taking the job with the New York Knicks. This is when Phil Jackson, what was he? I believe he was the president of basketball operations during that time period, and he was going to hire Steve Kerr. Ended up happening. He made an abrupt left and ended up taking the Warriors job. And as they say, the rest is history. But one has to wonder if he had taken the Knicks job, would we know who he is? Would he be back on television because he got fired after 3 years? You know, you have to wonder, would he be able to have maybe not the same level of success, because Wardell Curry is a generational talent, an all-time great. You know, would he have had maybe some semblance of success? Would the Knicks have been able to break through and make it to a conference finals or an NBA finals or things of that nature? But we'll never know. And so that's a question that begs to be asked as I watch this Olympic team, as I watch his deplorable handling of the roster in terms of minutes management. I think that he's playing some of the older guys, you know, LeBron and Curry, way too much. And there are minutes for Tatum and Halliburton and some of these other guys. And I'll be honest, a lot of times when I've watched, they've went on some of their best runs with some of the younger guys in there. The Kevin Durant 8-for-8 explosion notwithstanding. But I think that his handling of the roster has been deplorable at best, and some of the egregious mistakes that he's made in terms of that. You know, the fact that they're winning will mask a lot of that and be a Band-Aid, because it's tough to kind of argue with that when the team is winning, albeit a bit clumsily and awkwardly at times. But you do have to ask these types of questions, and I'm kind of looking at Steve Kerr and putting him under the microscope, because I don't think if either of his assistants, in an Eric Spoelstra or a Tyronn Lue, you would have these roster management issues. I legitimately don't think that. But it does beg that question. So, with that being said, what do you think of the job that Steve Kerr has done overall in terms of roster management and things of that nature? Do you think it has somewhat exposed him as a coach? Just let us know in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about it. And as always, I thank you all for spending a few moments with me. I want to thank everybody who has been watching the videos, people who like and comment. I actually rarely ask for likes, comments, and shares and things of that nature, but those of you who have done so unsolicited, I do appreciate this as I make my way back into consistent content upload and creation. So I just want to thank you all as we try to make the move toward 2,000 subscribers. Woohoo! But nonetheless, thank you again for watching and your continued support, and I'll do my best to continue to provide great content and ever-improving content that's informative, thought-provoking, and objective, somewhat. But anyway, thank you again, and as always, please make sure to tell the ones that you love them. Peace.